Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of JDB's Kitchen expand the syndicate into the western Monarch's Bluff, and the Marauders of Iron Reavers manage to rip away Reekwater, becoming the new regional rulers of the master fishing port town. KOTT News caught up with the Iron Reavers, who were actively defending their new fortification. Care to comment on how things went down out here tonight?
Well, I mean, it was a pretty tough fight, you know. We got our guys in the back line sweating a little bit from time to time, but, you know, the heaty, the sticky situations, we came through, we came on top.
Oh, indeed. Was there anybody out there who really stood out in their performance tonight?
Yes, I'd like to recognize Tanky Chowder here, our fishless mascot.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he's a trooper, alright. There he is.
Oh, look at that. Looking sharp. Well, congratulations, gang. Any aspirations to continue expanding beyond this location on the island?
Well, we've been working pretty hard, and we're gonna really crack down on this defense here, and then we'll see where the tide will take us.
Later in Windsward, we caught up with a JDB representative to discuss their outcome and ambitions. Congratulations on your victory out there in Monarch's Bluff. Now increasing your empire to 3 territories. How do you feel about the outcome tonight?
No, I'm really proud of this company. I think they handle both attack and defense as well as multiple decks. And I think JDB has really been, and this entire company has had a really welcoming culture. So I also want to give a big shout out to my group. I've been working with these guys for quite a while, and they're all wonderful. They always peel for their healers and show a little extra love. So really proud of this company and this team.
Are you aware of any other ambitions that your company might have for the rest of the island? I know this Outcast and the rest of the Covenant forces are expanding. Do you have any ambitions to expand beyond your borders now?
I'm pretty sure everyone is pretty hungry still, especially after this last attack. It's been, I personally, and I'm sure a lot of my teammates like attacking a lot more so than defense, so watch out.
Turning to the weather for today, and it looks like the sun will continue its perpetual journey across the Eternum sky once more. But look out after sundown as the temperatures drop and corruption invasion forces rise up across 20% of the island. No submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by Peace, but we'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as you might expect after an evening of peace. KOTT News took advantage of the peace to prepare for tonight's fights. Looking at the weather, and it's going to be another beautiful day of sunshine all afternoon long. But look out after sundown when corruption invasion forces will rise up across 30% of the island. 7 roster submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the forces of Outcasts assault the vault of JDB's Kitchen in their bid to steal away the island's financial capital of Windsward. Outcast forces involved in 3 fights tonight, not submitting their final rosters until the last moment, keeping everyone guessing as to their true intentions. JDB's decision-making process is simple enough. With 3 fronts to defend tonight, they'll likely prioritize the ones that will fund future endeavors. Meanwhile, the Marauders of bottom of B-tier Dodgers attack the syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the arid desert dunes of Brimstone Sands. Dodgers' forces return to the desert seeking to plunder the riches entombed there. But will they be forced to fight their way through the heat in order to achieve it? JDB's kitchen staff have shown in the past the ability to defend 2 regions simultaneously, and on a full night's rest, they may commit their forces entirely to these 2 financial districts. Simultaneously, the syndicate members of pharmaceuticals challenge the champs of Outcasts for their heavyweight title and the right to rule over Everfall. Big Pharma make their way into the ring, singular in their focus to knock out the champs and begin their own Neverfall run. But will it be so simple? As the new heavyweight champions of Eternum, Outcasts are off to an auspicious start with a simultaneous defensive effort elsewhere. Surely they'll prioritize the heavyweight title. Elsewhere on the island, the Covenant forces of Error.pxp assail the syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the island's secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. I'm not sure if Error.pxp are opportunistic land seekers or anxious war seekers, but in any event, they have the first of 2 simultaneous offenses against a distracted JDB here. Knowing that Error forces will themselves be divided, it may be likely that JDB will count on a highly trained group of mercenaries to hold them off. Or then again, maybe they show up en masse. To the east, the Marauders of Unethical assault the Covenant forces of Outcasts for control of the always uncontrollable Restless Shore. Unethical forces, always willing to do what it takes to take some land, take a stab at Outcast while they have 2 other decisions to make. But will decisions work out in their favor? Outcasts continue to ebb and flow in their influence across the island, but have they perhaps converted more members of the citizenry into a second Covenant of Outcasts by chance? But wait, there's more! The Covenant forces of Error.pxp assail the Marauders of Emotional Damage for control of First Light and the flow of the spice. Error.pxp, in their second of 2 fights here, may be fielding 2 full teams, but if they're able to scrape up mercenaries from somewhere, they could theoretically get 2 pieces of land. The CEOs of Beijing Corn have been hard at work at the hyssop and spice production facilities, and they're not going to let a bunch of error messages slow them down now. In the late night matchup, the Covenant forces of Coconut Wireless attack the Marauders of Bottom of B-tier Dodgers for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. Coconut Wireless executing their right to rematch for the Northern Forests, having been deposed by the Marauders only last week. But with all the chaos tonight, it could be anyone's game. The Marauders have been hard at work clear-cutting the forests and plundering the unlimited resources for their unquenchable lust for consumption. Except when there's a fight, they always have time for a fight. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Unethical snatch away the Restless Shore. Coconut Wireless beat back the Bears for the backwoods of Brightwood, and the Notbots of Error.pxp completely capture the entire southern peninsula. KOTT News were on the scene in First Light and spoke with Error leadership about their dominant victory. Your double declare gambit pays off and you get the entire southern peninsula. How did you manage to make it pay out?
Hey, you know, when you just bang your head up against the wall enough, eventually you'll come out on top, you know? Southern Peninsula is ours now. We'll hold it for as long as we can. The First Light War against emotional damage was, I think, fun for everybody. Hopefully emotional damage learned something from that as well. I welcome them to push it back. You know, a lot of companies here need the practice and need the war. So, you know, let's get some wars going.
Indeed. Was there anybody on your team who happened to stand out in their performance tonight?
You see Mr. Kizaru He's kind of doing a little prance around me right now. Yeah, that man right there. Let me tell you, that man was so deep that we had to pull him out. You know, he was in there like swimwear.
All right. Well, now that you're in control of the entire hyssop and spice production facilities of the Southern Island, what are your intentions?
Oh, well, I mean, we're going to package all the spice up into small little packages, and we're going to probably smuggle it through Reek Water and sell it to the hobos up in Morningdale.
Later in Brightwood, KOTT news crews were able to speak with a Coconut Wireless representative about their victory as well. Congratulations on their victory here in Brightwood, turning away the Dodgers and taking over in the name of Coconut Wireless. How do you feel about it?
I think Dodgers put up a good fight. Coconut's on top right now, and we got more to come.
No, was there anybody on your team who really stood out in their performance tonight?
Big shout out to On Ice and XAE. I've been watching them a lot. Big soldier plays out of both of them.
Do you have any ambitions now that you've taken over the Deep Forest?
I'm saying is JDB better watch out.
Oh, you heard it here first, JDB. Look out for Coconut Wireless. All right, man. Shots fired. Congratulations, Coconut Wireless. KOTT news crews were also able to speak with a kitchen staff representative about their outcomes. Congratulations on your 2 victories in Brimstone and here in Windsward, where you were able to hold everybody off. It looks like you yielded Cutlass Keys. What was your thought process for tonight?
Yeah, it was kind of unexpected, the triple deck, but I understand because we are down to one West Coast server. We just looked at it as an opportunity, and we looked at it as an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to get war practice in. And Dodgers pulled up in Brimstone, Outcast pulled up on us in Windsward, and we slotted the 2 rosters the best we could and performed the best we could, and we held 2 at once. Hats off to JDB Kitchen. I think that was really awesome tonight. I heard that it was fun in Brimstone, and I had a good time in Windsward as well. So,
yeah, excellent work holding these 2 financial resources for sure. Was there anybody here in their performance that really outshined tonight in Windsward that you saw?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Rasputin. He's a big shot caller, and he can play the game at the same time. Shout out to JDB, our Gov. He's a bruiser. He's really good at the game. Shout out Slavu. He is in my group. He was my bruiser, and I was BBIG tonight. I went 23-0, so shout out to me. Didn't die once. And shout out to JDB's Kitchen as a whole, as a company. I think we're all really strong in this company, and as you can see, we can hold down 2 territories. So yeah, we're really strong. Hats off to Outcast and Dodgers for the wars. They've been really fun. But I think we should stick to just decking 1 at a time. I think that's how we grow.
Turning to the weather for tonight, and after a night like last night, it's nice to have a reliable sunny day to look forward to again. But look out in the evening for a 40% chance of corruption invasion forces to strike across the island. All that war last night left no space for conflict tonight, so hit up those invasions or get caught up on some trade skills, because there's no LARPCO tonight. But we'll bring you any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as you might expect after an evening of peace. The weather got pushed back a night, so the afternoon will reset to sunshine and lollipops, as it were. But look out after sunset, when a 40% chance of corruption invasion forces will rise up across the island. 2 more lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Covenant forces of Outcasts assault the vault of JDB's Kitchen, attempting to steal away the island's financial capital of Windsward. Factional leaders of the island had been preparing for this week's expected launch of seasonal leaderboards. Now tonight's matchups feel more like a warm-up scrimmage. JDB's Kitchen, off a night's rest, are fully recovered and prepared to defend their 2 territories tonight. The season may be delayed, but the fight must go on. Meanwhile, the Marauders of Iron Reavers assault the syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for Crown and Kingdom of the Western Monarch's Bluff. Iron Reavers, making an attempt to expand their empire, march up the bluff and challenge the kitchen staff to a Shokugeki. But what will the secret ingredient be? JDB's kitchen staff were looking forward to being underway for Season 1, but will consider this another warm-up session to prepare for the leaderboards tomorrow. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of JDB's kitchen hold off the double declare and retain their regional control. KOTT News caught up with the kitchen staff who were wrapping up payouts in the Church of Windsward before breaking news of action on the front line got us all afluster with some world PvP. The action was intense in Everfall, and reports came in from Reekwater as well, as members of the community let out their frustration at the seasonal setback announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News, here on the scene in Everfall, where the forces of JDB's kitchen are currently assaulting the Fort Outcast, and other members, other syndicate factions, other factions in general, of all types and ilk are out here. It is a three-way fight for dominance on the Everfall Hills. The heavyweight champions nowhere to be found. Other members of the Covenant out here fighting under behest. Look out. Don't die, stay alive. Oh, indeed, sir. Good day, good day, good day. Thank you. Oh. Gotta make sure to get it hunkered in close here as we continue to investigate. Let's see who's here. It's Iron Reavers making a move out on the JDB's kitchen. Iron Reavers both trying to push influence against the forces of Outcast out here in Everfall. There were other Covenant forces, but I cannot determine who it was at this time. There they are. Yellow Rain. There were several members of Yellow Rain making moves inside the fort. It looks like they've decided to take the fight off fort down into the valley below. As they go down and fighting on the roads down by the fort. They are officially spawn camping, ladies and gentlemen. Turning to the weather for today, and it's going to be a pleasant day of sunshine all afternoon long. Then look out after sundown for a scattering of invasion forces rising up across 20% of the island. No roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by Patch Pushback, but we'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as you might expect after an evening of peace. KOTT News took advantage of the downtime to practice some music theory and scale progressions. Tonight's weather looks to be a fairly nice day with plenty of sunshine for harvesting and crafting. Then be on the lookout after sundown when the corruption invasion forces like to strike, rising up in 30% of the regions. 3 more submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPGO. Remember, if it isn't LARPGO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Marauders of Thrust Damage assail the Covenant forces of Error.pxp for control of the island's secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. Thrust Damage rebrand and return to the mosh pit on the southern shores, ready to rumble with the crocodiles. But will the unusual start time distract them? The Zealots of Error will be starting on the other side of the double declare this time, so now we'll truly get to see the might of their full company's roster. Meanwhile, the Marauders of Emotional Damage assail the Covenant forces of Error.pxp for control of First Light and the flow of the spice. The CEOs of Beijing Corn executing their right to rematch after their inability to overcome the start menu in the last fight. But they've learned how to hold the block button, so now they shouldn't take leaf damage. As reported previously on KOTT News, Error forces have been distributing spices exclusively to season the crab boils of Reekwater. But will that delectable dietary monopoly hold out? In the nightcap, The Covenant forces of Outcasts attacked the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for control of the arid desert region of Brimstone Sands. Everybody in the club is getting antsy for the season to start already, and Outcast is no exception. But will that frustration translate into Super Saiyan energy in the desert? JDB's kitchen staff blew off a little steam running around open world as reported yesterday, but they'll take on a full-on fight any night if they can get 30 minutes of sincere combat. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of thrust damage captured the southern Cutlass Keys. KOTT news crews were on the scene and got a few words from the new regional leaders. Over in mere moments, how did you manage to successfully conquer the Cutlass Keys?
Well, it was a very strong fight, hardwood fight, you know. We got out there, we walked down the points, we defended ourselves from the enormous army that we were fighting against, you know. But through it all, we got the points, we blew up the doors, and we got in there in record time. It was a good time. Excellent.
Was there anybody who stood out in their performance?
I think everyone did a pretty good job. Everyone did a pretty good job in there. I will have to shout out, though, if he stopped running here, he's trying to stab us for some reason. You know, the thrust damage, it kind of gets in his head. Anyway, it was a great time out there. He was watching Star Wars, I believe, giving us all good confidence for the war. We were listening to Chewbacca roar in the background. It was a great time.
Well, congratulations. You have two regions now. Any ambitions to expand to a third?
I don't think so quite yet. I know here very shortly after our invasion, we'll probably be getting a defense war declared very shortly. So we'll be preparing for that in the meantime, getting up some walls, getting everything prepared for the fight.
Later in First Light, KOTT news crews caught up with Error.pxp leadership to get their comments on tonight's outcomes. Congratulations on your victory here in First Light, once again retaining the rights to distribute the spice and hyssop to the rest of the island's region. However, you did lose in Cutlass Keys. Was that a yield that you made on purpose, an intentional yield?
You know, John, I wanted to complain about the double declare, but then I realized I'm not a bitch.
Did you send any of your roster out there to Cutlass Keys, or did you keep everybody on point here?
We did. We sent a few people out at Cutlass Keys to kind of, overwatch the burning of the, town, and, they got the rest of our goods out and hightailed it back to First Light.
Hey, was there anybody out there tonight here in First Light that stood out in their performance?
Oh, listen, everybody this time around. A lot of things that we practice is just comms and being able to work with our groups, and I think everyone did a wonderful job. You know, this is a training company after all, and these people have all come a long way. So I have to give it up to not only leadership, but also every person in this roster and in this company, because this is one of the best companies and one of the best communities I've been a part of.
Wrapping up the evening, a long payout line for JDB's Kitchen and Windsward for their weekly payouts. Afterwards, a member of the kitchen staff took a moment to take us through their fight in Brimstone. Well, I know that you've got to get to bed early, but if you can give me a couple words, was it a difficult fight for you out there?
Oh man, this was actually a really fun fight. I'm glad that Outcast brought that out. The bruisers have finally started hitting healers. It's crazy. I think they actually brought a pretty good fight, and it was quite clumpy out there in the desert.
Well, was there anybody out there who stood out in their performance? You know, we'd like to see what's going on with anybody who's really improving themselves.
You know, I think I'm not gonna name drop anyone. I think everyone did a really great job. I think our rotations were super tight. I think everyone played their roles and soldiered on the point and around the point. We weren't, I think we were all playing really well tonight, and our army was very strong on their game. I want to give a good shout out to Rasputin for dot culling for us. I always love soldiers that can play macro play as well, and so he really brought the army together with some with some awesome dot culling tonight. So I'll give a shout out to him.
I see that there's a new Covenant squad coming after you here in Windsward tomorrow. Are you looking forward to Cringecast?
I have no idea who they are, but I'm excited to fight them. I think we're all excited to have some new competition out here.
Well, I hate to bring it up, but how are you dealing with the frustration of the delays of the first season?
Well, that's kind of interesting. I think we're all bracing for impact. After seeing and experiencing PTR, I think we're all apprehensive about what's going to happen with the patch, and I hope that they release it soon. I'm not sure how this will affect the current population of players, and how this is going to shift meta and also change and rock the entire island. I feel like territories are going to shift and wars are going to be very exciting coming up.
Turning to the weather, and it looks like the sun will rise once more and journey across the Eternum sky. Then look out after sunset as a scattering of corruption invasion forces will rise up in only 10% of the island. 2 roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. First up, the Covenant forces of Cringecast assault the vault of JDB's kitchen, attempting to steal away the island's financial capital of Windsward. The Zealots of Cringecast make their debut in the historical archives by making a big move for some big money early in their campaign. But will this newcomer find success against this island powerhouse? JDB's Kitchen, fresh off their victory in the Desert of Brimstone last night, will be fielding a full roster of security guards to lock down the outer perimeter of the bank. Meanwhile, the Covenant forces of Error.pxp attack the Marauders of Buchamma B-tier Dodgers for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fin. Fighting on back-to-back nights, the Zealots of Error.pxp take a turn on offense as they attempt to secure another region on the island. Dodgers' forces, back at it after taking a few days off themselves, should be well rested and prepared for a full-on fight in the Fin. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.